What's going on, buddy?
I just showered, so I'm nice and clean for you guys. I just want you to know that, okay?
Oh, thank you
No
very
greasy
much.
salami hair today, Freed.
That'll be tonight, Jay. That'll be tonight. And
That's
tomorrow.
me. That's me today. All good. All good.
Freed, thank you so much for doing this. I know you're very, very busy, so let's get into this. The
No
Leafs,
problem.
what's the latest you're hearing on that front?
Look, I think they're still. I definitely think they're still looking, guys. And the thing that I think from the beginning, look, we know they're looking for a right-hand D. We know they're looking for a forward. D in general, but preferably right-handed. From the beginning this year, I really think they've tried to pack a punch with the number one draft pick. Like, you remember, they haven't included it in a lot of offers, but they included it in the one that they offered to Calgary for when they were trying to get both Tanev and Zadorov. So I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to use, like, if you look at Edmonton yesterday, they used their number one pick to get two players, Henrique and Carrick. I think that's what Toronto prefers. Now, if there's somebody out there that comes on their lap that they say, holy smokes, we've got to use the number one pick to do it, then they will. But I think what they've really tried to do, guys, is like, for example, like something like like an Edmundson Dowd kind of thing. If they could do that, I think they would be happy to do that. And if there were other such combinations out there, I think that's kind of what they'd be looking at.
Freed, who do you think right now, let's say that number one pick stays in his pocket and they don't use it, who do you think is the most realistic acquisition that would benefit the Leafs right now?
Jay, I think if there's a defenseman that is breathing that they really like I don't like, honestly, I don't know if I could limit it to one. I think that I think like basically every defenseman, like this is going back to last summer before they had Nylander signed. There was a time when Nylander was unsigned in the summer where they just said, look, like if there's a defenseman that we could trade Nylander for, they would do it, who they thought was a good match. And that obviously didn't happen, and they signed Willie. But ever since last summer, that first day, they looked at Dumba and they went for Klingberg because Dumba's number was $1.5 million higher. Ever since that first day, they've been looking for defensive fits, and I just don't think that has stopped. So, like, you go down every defenseman who's either been traded, and like they really like Tanev. They weren't, they had to really beat Dallas's price. They really like Zadorov. They couldn't get that done without retention, and they couldn't agree on the price for retention. Like, I think, honestly, Jay, I don't know if I could, like, I really thought, I remember they were interested in Dumba, and I mentioned Dumba's name last week, and then some people reached out to me and said they didn't think it was as likely. So I think, honestly, Jay, I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but I think it comes down to price. Do they think it fits the person they're going for? And also, can they do a double? Can they get two players with one pick? And that might influence which defenseman they get. But basically, every D out there, Toronto's looked into them.
And is it obvious
yeah, go ahead.
to you that not having a ton of picks at their disposal is handcuffing them right now at getting what they want?
Well, that's definite. Like with Tanev, I think they offered like 3 or 4 picks. But but if you look at what they've got, they didn't offer. So if you look at, all you got to do is look at their draft picks that are eligible, and they didn't offer the first. So you can figure out what they're dealing with. Like, I think they offered like 3 or 4 picks to Calgary, but the highest available was, I think, the second, which isn't available, I think, for 3 or 4 years, right? So you can see the issue there. Like, they have good prospects that people would gladly take. Minton, Cowan. I think people up until earlier this year were still asking them about Matthew Knies. But they're not doing any of that unless it's an absolute whopper of a deal. So, Jay, I do think the lack of picks has been a real big factor for them.
When I mentioned the term wildcard GM, I think Doug Armstrong would probably pop to mind for you. So I ask you, like Colton Parayko, have you heard anything on that name?
I think they've asked, or I shouldn't say asked. I think they've looked into it. I do. Again, I think you'd be foolish to think that the Maple Leafs haven't checked out every defenseman that was available out there. I think the thing is, though, I think there's a couple of things there. Number one, Doug Armstrong isn't going to make this easy on you. It's going to be expensive. That's number one. And number two, I think also, Colton Parayko's got a no trade clause, so it's got to be something that he wants to do. And number three, he's had a really good year. He's a really good player. I'm a huge fan. I know there is concern about his back. So, like, those are the three wild cards you're dealing with: the acquisition price, the willingness of the player, and also, do you have any health concerns about him? But I do think this. I think at the base, I think the Maple Leafs like the player.
How about some of the forwards, like you mentioned, and we've been talking about this for the last little while, how they're looking for a depth guy like Nick Dowd. That's not stunning. His name is linked to the Leafs. Luke Cunnin in San Jose has been a name that's been out there for the last couple months. How about a guy like Max Pacioretty? Like, are the Leafs looking for that like scoring punch to maybe put them over the top in the playoffs? Because that's always my lasting memory. Get to the postseason, the power play dries up, and the offense dries up, right?
Hold on one sec. I just got a text. I think Edmundson might be coming.
No way.
Hold on one sec.
All right,
Someone
go
just
ahead.
sent me a note.
Boy, Fried, break it live, baby.
This is unreal.
I'm just checking to make sure.
Okay, cool.
We'll give you
So,
some
Rosie, what would you
time.
think of that acquisition?
Edmundson, Jesus, it hasn't even been on the radar that I've heard or
No,
seen. But
he was done. It's happening. Joel Edmundson to Toronto.
Okay, go ahead, Freeds, do your thing. But Rosie, get your thoughts on that. Obviously, a bigger, steadier defenseman. Played on Montreal a couple years back. Has the pedigree. Right-handed shooting, though. Important to bring that up. Or excuse me, a lefty. Important to bring that up.
it is, man. Like I remember, like it's always been right-handed defensemen that are just so sought after, and we don't have any of them. And we think we talked about that with TJ Brody and guys playing on their offside. Like it's difficult. Like for a skilled guy like Morgan Riley, I don't mind it as much. You're skilled enough to protect that puck and not get it stripped and be able to make the plays. And then offensively, you're on, your one-timer side and your better angled side. But for a guy like TJ Brody, like to try to play your offside, I mean, the skating wise, your pivots, your gap ups are totally different. The way you open your hips up, if you're used to doing your left one to squeeze the guy off and wedge him, you're doing it on the complete other side. You're picking up your D-to-Ds on your backhand oftentimes. You're picking up the puck on the wall on the wrong side. It's just totally different. I don't think it's fair to ask a guy like him to perform above his, pay grade, even though he's paid quite a bit, but above his head, and to do it in the playoffs and to do it on his wrong side is fucking difficult. So the right-handedness is a huge deal, but let's hear more about this Edmundson trade here.
I'm just trying to figure out what the return is here. He was definitely like basically last night it looked like it was going to be hold on one second.
No worries.
It looked like it was going to be like one of several teams, and they were trying to get the best draft pick they could. They were trying to get the best draft pick they could, so we'll see what Toronto gave up.
Okay. And it doesn't sound like a forward's coming too, just Edmundson?
I don't have any other information on that right now. I don't.
Cool. What's his term again?
I don't know. He's up this year, and it's a low number because he was already 50% retained. So it's a really low cap number.
Yes. That's what we need, and there's still time and room.
Yeah. Like, I know it's early, Freach, but do you think that's it?
By the way, I should just say for this that I don't think I broke this one. It's someone must have had it out there beforehand. So I don't like to take credit for anything I didn't do.
Well, we're giving it to you, so there you
go. Anything else before we wrap? I know you're going to probably run with this, Freach. Great stuff. Anything else you want? I know to put you on the spot, we're just having this convo and this news breaking as we do this podcast that the Leafs have acquired Joel Edmundson, but obviously they're going to keep looking here, right? Like, I think the stunner for me is that he's a left-handed shooting defenseman, right?
He has played on the right side before, but Toronto's had this issue, which is there's some teams that really care about this a lot more than others. But okay, so it's a 3rd round pick in 2024 and the 5th round pick in 2025.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.